Without Fulbright, it would have been really hard for me to really, settle in the US and, find all the contacts with the university. So, yeah, of course, just being, in an environment that's so creative with my peers at UCLA definitely helped me a lot to, think about my own art, my own persona, and my character development. Well, Austria is a fantastic place with, a fantastic cultural, exposure. But it's still Austria, it's still small. So I think the US is just, way more international, at least, the coasts. So without a doubt, there's just more international exposure in the US and Austria. And I think it's really good, I grew up in German cultural context, So it's good just to go out there and, see what's out there and let yourself be inspired by it. My advice would be definitely apply because it's, just if you get it, it's just opening up so many possibilities. And the worst that can happen is you're gonna have a 2-year cool time and got new experiences. And the best that can happen is it might change your life in some way if you're open to it. So I think it's very scary as well, and I was scared too. I think it's scary to, leave the place where you're from, where you know everything, the culture, the language, and move to a new place. In the case of the US, it's also a place pretty far away, where everything is new. The second advice would be I had to learn a lot, kind of financially, not so much of how to spend money or anything, or how to save money, but more I think it's very scary that the US has so high tuition fees, and it's a concept I'm not really familiar being from Austria because education is free here. So all these numbers are very intimidating, and there's also they create a lot of pressure on yourself as a student. But in the end, it's kind of all abstract numbers that are being moved around because with Fulbright, you do get a scholarship, and then that's being calculated against your tuition. So in the end, what you actually have to pay, just try to concentrate on that and try not to be intimidated by it. Yeah, so Fulbright made it possible for me to really, be in the US and be present, and also, be exposed to the cultural things that were happening in LA. So I met a lot of people, and I was going out a lot, going to exhibitions. Obviously, I was being a good student, also doing my program. But again, I think it's really my life. What I do is all mixed together. It's not this and this. It's all one thing. And just to be present in LA, made it possible to even be in that scene. So when I had to take a leave of absence because of the pandemic, Danny Altman asked me to work for him as a project director, first and remotely. So in that year, I was very isolated in Berlin, working for him, and I was working like a beast. That's really just what it is. I was sleeping during the day, working during the night in LA time zone, and it was very crazy. And in that time, I produced 13 music videos for him. My role in all of this was as a creative director, but I wore actually a lot of hats. So I was being his art director, I was doing graphic design, I would bring in a lot of people into the project, like directors, artists. I co-directed one music video, I acted in one. So I was his one-woman art department. And then the last project I did was a box set. So it was just a special edition box set. And it was a very tricky project. It took very long, many months. And that was the one I was GRAMMY nominated for. So, although Fulbright didn't have, per se something to do with it, it made it possible just because I was there and I was able to make these connections. And obviously, my skills that I learned at university and who I am at my critical thought and my aesthetics and all of that, they were all, fostered by this experience. So without that, I would have not been able to really do this kind of job. Obviously, also my personal background, what I did before, but Fulbright and my experience in LA was like one element, one puzzle piece of that did lead me in the end to what I did and to Grammy nomination. Obviously, it would be cool to bring home the gold. But I think that the thing that I'm most sad about is more that I really worked really hard for this, and I was really solo in this. Although obviously I brought in, artists to, help with the box and help with the art and stuff, but I was really doing the art direction myself. And I wanted to have this moment walking up on stage, in this very crazy setup, and then being like, hey, more women in the music industry, because it's just a very harsh environment, and I thought it was cool that I got this opportunity. That's very hard to even get it, The category I was nominated in exists since 1995, and only one single time did a solo female art director win in 2003. And often there's like groups of people, and not even females, so like 90% of the nominees are male anyhow, because it's just really hard to get this position in this category or world, really. So yeah, it's just very deep in the DNA of the music industry that, females, it's just hard for them. So yeah, that moment, I didn't get this moment I was sad about. And the other thing that was kind of funny about this whole thing was that I sketched out my own outfit. Just because, I couldn't afford like a big name designer, and then I did the whole thing, like interviews and red carpet at the Grammys and everything, and apparently everybody really loved my outfits. So, already on my way home, people would send me links to like all these crazy international fashion magazines. So, in the end, I ended up with like Elle Australia, ABC News Australia front page, High Society voted me at number 3 best dressed in red carpet, LA Times. I was in print magazine in Germany and Austria. It was pretty wild that happened, and it's really hard to even, get there, because there were all the celebrities, and I didn't care much about them, but they have a lot of money for a big name designer, a lobby, a PR agency, manager, whatever. I didn't have any of that, and I still made it up in the same best dressed category. So yeah, that felt cool. I mean, it feels obviously great to be Grammy nominated. I feel like I'm really being recognized and acknowledged, which is a fantastic feeling to have. It hasn't been easy, especially as a young woman in the music industry in LA and Hollywood. So it's a very tough environment. But yeah, I feel very honored, and I didn't really ask for it. I was like kind of thrown into it. It came as a surprise to me, like 100% surprise. I thought I would never get close to the Grammys, also being a non-musician actually. And then, I didn't win in the end, which was still okay, because, everybody said, oh, nominations, everything, but I have this kind of like thing attached to my name now. And it feels interesting because I do have a kind of like anti-establishment attitude, and I feel like I don't look like it, but I feel very like punk. So it was interesting to get a glimpse into this world and also be part of it, and almost feel like I'm infiltrating this mainstream with the persona that I am, because it created a space for me to be who I am and still feel authentic. So that was a cool experience for sure. And then how it changed my career, I don't know yet. It's just been 2 months. So it's been still pretty fresh, and we'll see.